Tonight I'm going to make a Chinese cabbage stew dish. Here are the ingredients. The main ingredient is Chinese cabbage, frozen tofu. We froze our fresh tofu, chop it into pieces, and just put it in the freezer. Or you can put your leftover fresh tofu, about to expire tofu, and just freeze them. So after you froze the tofu, the texture will be changed and it's more chewier than fresh tofu. And another main ingredient will be potato noodles. This is very common to add to this stew dish. Here's the spice: ginger, green onion, garlic, and the star spice. We also have salt, sugar, vegetable oil, and soy sauce. Alright, let's start it. So this is how I prepare the cabbage. I'm going to cut this whole cabbage into quarters, which I only bought half of it. If just for one person, or you can cook just 1/4 of this cabbage. And what I do is I cut in quarters, and I'm going to cut off this root. And also, I'm going to cut in half. This top part mostly are leaves. I'm going to cook them separately because the thicker part takes longer to cook. So I'll cut in half. And I'll cut them around 1 inch. And then cut them in half. Kind of like this is a size. Turn the stove on high, and now we're going to add oil. Before the oil gets hot, you can put the star spice in. And can add the ginger, if you don't like ginger, you just pick them out. I don't like ginger either. It's just for the cooking flavor. Add my garlic. I'll add half of the onion, and I'll keep the rest for the end. And now I'm going to add in the cabbage. Stir it for a couple minutes. So right now, you see the pan is dry. Cook the cabbage until it gets soupy a little bit. It's getting soupy like that. See, got a little bit juice. See the liquid? I'll add enough water that's gonna cover the tofu and the noodles. So right now, barely cover the cabbage. I'm going to get more water. After I add the cold water, now I'm going to put the frozen tofu in. And I add some potato noodles. I use the weight of the cabbage, press the noodles into the bottom so they can be fully soaked while cooking. And don't forget, we still have these thin leaves to add in for later after the soup boils. Now the soup starts boiling and see a really nice steam is coming out. Now I'm going to add the leaves in, the thin part. After cook for a while, they're gonna become smaller. I'm going to add just tiny little bit sugar. And now I'm going to add salt. 1, 2. I'll start with the 3 teaspoons. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. You also can add jalapeno or hot peppers. Let's leave it not fully covered for another 5 minutes and come back. I'm gonna see if they are cooked. I'll start with the noodles. And now let's try the cabbage. Usually when they cook, they are see-through. Lastly, I'll add onions in. I just add a little more soy sauce. Here we go. The steamy stew dish is ready. It's Chinese cabbage stew with the frozen tofu and potato noodles. A typical northeastern Chinese food that cook during the cold winters. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you like this kind of dishes. Bye. See you next time.